We are back for ReZero Wednesdays, and this week we have a somewhat different episode as we dive into Liliana's history, and unfortunately, there's quite a bit cut from an episode that doesn't even cover much. Now, this is a character and chapter that is not very well received by the general fandom, but I personally don't mind it in light novel format too much, and I think the anime makes some interesting anime original decisions. We start off by straight up jumping into Liliana's backstory, in which she messes up a performance and gets shown up by her mom. We then see again that Liliana is failing to play something, being a far cry from the Liliana we know today. She lays down and looks at the stars watching over her and sees a constellation that looks kinda like a guilty law fang. For those who don't remember, that is the witch beast from Season 2 or Arc 4, and also the witch beast used to make Subaru's whip. She starts playing another bad song and gets told to stop and go to sleep. We cut to a carriage and we learn from her father that they only like to play in small villages, something that frustrates her as she wants to go to the big city. She says she wants to play Sword Saint Reed and is again rejected by her parents. This constant rejection and, I guess, going against the grain of her values boils up inside of her, causing her to lash out and say she's going to a big city to become a wandering minstrel. And then, we flash back to what happened at the end of episode 10, as Priscilla, who feels so untouchable, just takes her first hit in the fight. She lands at her feet, and we see a single jewel on her necklace shatters. Sirius at first calls it pride before mentioning Iris and the King of Thorns again, causing Priscilla even more anger, as Sirius rants about mutual understanding and going towards the goal of love. It's interesting because it seems that Sirius is seemingly comparing whatever Priscilla is doing to break her equipment to pride in some way before correcting herself and saying Iris and the King of Thorns. What could that possibly mean? We have no clue. Leave your theories in the comments below though. Liliana can't help but wonder, are you an idiot? She points to the people around them. Is this what true understanding is? In response, Sirius unleashes an attack that is blocked by Priscilla, and she points out Sirius's sudden rage, and how she tried to silence someone immediately after they disagree with their values. She calls Sirius's wrath cheap, which causes her to ignite in even more anger, as she considers it to be attacking the wrath shared between Betelgeuse and herself. Priscilla remarks how she has had 8 husbands, to which Sirius pokes at her, as her heart is devoted to one person. The fight continues on, and it causes Priscilla's necklace to break in her place, seemingly being able to transfer damage from herself to her belongings. She stabs her yang sword into the ground, and converts Sirius's purple flames into flames of white/orange, I guess? As she remarks that her flames burn only what she wishes to burn. Liliana runs up the burning control tower, and even though it doesn't burn her, she feels an intense heat coursing through her as she sings her song, Sky that transcends the light of dawn. We see more of her past, surviving in the woods, making no money, running from witch beasts, until she sees her parents with a new kid. She covers her head and cries as she feels she's been replaced, falling over in a forest, remarking how if she were a hero, she wouldn't die. This sort of thing would never happen to Reed or Flugel, and when she wakes up the next day, she can't help but notice the beauty of the world around her, the rising sun, the birds chirping, and inspiration strikes in that moment. The song kicks up in its full glory as the crowd, under the effects of soul washing, begin to hear the song, which causes Priscilla to fully move in to intercept any attacks, and as expected, her eyes were right to find promise in her. Sirius, in absolute wrathful fury, begins to topple the tower over, and Priscilla tries to stop it, but in the process takes another hit, breaking the final ornament in her hair. Liliana keeps playing as the tower slowly approaches the ground, and Sirius repeats her ideology one more time. Love is to become one. We finally get an even better look into Priscilla's way of being, as she rejects Sirius's ideology. Love is not to become one, but it is to accept our differences with an open mind, and the concept of everyone thinking the same way is far too repulsive. When she moves to strike down Sirius, she reveals that she has had Tina in some sort of pocket dimension the whole time, yet the blade still hits Sirius, as Priscilla's yang sword burns what she wishes to burn, and cuts what she wishes to cut. She deals the final blow to Sirius, as the yang sword turns black, and the control tower collapses into the water. In a post-credit scene, we cut back to the Regulus fight, and Subaru remarks how all the archbishops are named after the stars of his hometown, and their authorities are tied to the etymology of the stars. Betelgeuse is the hand of Jazza, or the unseen hand. Regulus in the constellation of Leo refers to the little king, and Corleonis, which means lion's heart. Regulus's power stops time for his body, meaning he can't get injured or wet, and things he throws can be stopped in time as well. Regulus gets absolutely pissed and fires off an attack, causing Subaru to run. He looks towards the church and thinks about the little kingdom of wives led by the little king, and perhaps his authority has a limit. It may be distance from the wives or something of that nature, and he leaves it to Emilia to figure it out. And this is another cool sign of growth from Subaru in Arc 4, who initially wanted to do everything for her in the Sanctuary. Not just her, but everyone. And now, everyone in this arc is off fighting their own battles, and all Subaru can do is hope that they come back safe. In terms of adaptation, the first half of this episode did not impress me. The cuts to the actually good stuff of Liliana named hurt, and we have some very unimpressive sequences like Priscilla playing Beat Saber, and the part of Liliana running up the control tower, kind of butchered. However, when the song Liliana plays finally kicks in with like the vocals and everything, I was actually locked in. It was a great song, which gives me some hope for a future scene. Novel readers know what's up. And the final portions of Priscilla vs. Sirius were pretty cool. My expectations are slowly decreasing, especially as news keeps coming out about how the production is struggling. We have this tweet on February 15th for someone who is being asked to do layout checks on episode 63 and 64, or episodes that air 3 weeks from the tweet date. We've heard that production hit a couple of snags in the past, but it seems like the seemingly great schedule they were given is quickly catching up to them. And another thing I want to give the anime credit for is not cutting around fights all the time. This might also just be a light novel change, because I read the web novel first, but one of my biggest issues with Arc 5, when I read it first, was how often it swapped POVs, which led to absolutely brutal pacing at times, and outside of episode 9, we're doing a lot better, it feels so far. There are quite a few cuts to this episode, which is surprising, given that it adapts the least amount of content this season so far, but I guess they had a vision in mind and all this stuff interrupted that. So first, when Priscilla charged at Sirius, which led to her getting hit for the first time, Liliana remarked how Priscilla's momentum seemingly slowed, as if time itself had turned against her. It was as if Sirius was capable of slowing or stopping the time of the target, which is crazy. There is a decent amount cut from Liliana's backstory, despite this being her backstory episode. We learned more about her time before she left her parents, about how she didn't like to just be a face in the crowd, and wanted to become a famous songstress, and being someone hard to work with as she would frequently break up groups due to differences in sound. What she wanted to do most with her music was to experience the lives of the legends and myths she heard about in them, legends like Reed and Flugel, as mentioned in this episode. After going off on her own and struggling to get by for years, she comes to a realization that shakes the very core of her motivation. The heroes in songs aren't her friends, just strangers, and her feelings about them are entirely one-sided. She had a parasocial relationship through songs, I fear. She'll never know these people, but also, maybe that isn't so bad. Maybe she can go around the world singing songs about these people, not to be their friends, but until she finds heroes she can become friends with, and so she can use that for some new song material. She wants to go to every corner of the earth until she finds all of these friends, and can brag about them globally, or, I guess plainly, allegedly. During the Control Tower segment against Sirius, Liliana can't help but feel that her music isn't reaching them because the people of the town are simply too far away. She channels all of her energy into her song, because even though the darkness slowly strikes them, morning will always come. It's kind of visually communicated in this episode, but it also doesn't mean anything if you don't get what it means, but this is when it's described that Liliana's divine protection fully blossoms. Until now, it had been a simple boon to her that transformed into a true power inside of her. She wasn't aware of it herself, but it was a divine manifestation of musical power, supported by her true strength as a singer and her resolve to lay everything on the line in that moment. As her true power activates, and Sirius and Priscilla bicker on the ground. Sirius remarks how it's absurd for Priscilla to take so much issue with Sirius's ideology, considering what Liliana is doing is the exact same thing. But Priscilla disagrees entirely. With songs or with art, every human interpretation is entirely different. Even two people hearing the same masterpiece do not experience the same depth of meaning when they describe it as beautiful. It's a really cool piece of characterization for Priscilla as we learn more about her love for the world and her love for the arts and her love for the intricacies and uniqueness of every individual person. Something I really appreciate about Arc 5 is how much more it gives her than her just being really mean to people. She still does that too though. Ultimately, with all the cuts and some of the tension absolutely sucked out of Liliana climbing the tower, this is a chapter I would recommend reading on your own time. Of course, I would also recommend that for every chapter. I guess the reason I'm saying this for the first time in these videos is this one feels particularly different from the light novel. But that'll be it for this week, and I will see you guys for the hopefully very bombastic episode 12. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe for more. You can also check the description down below to become a member, which gives you benefits like early videos, membership badges, and cool custom emotes. You can join the Discord where we talk about ReZero, Kagurabachi, Jujutsu Kaisen, and all kind of stuff. Additionally, you can go to the channel store and pick up some awesome stickers made by our channel artist, so you can carry the power of Graphia with you on your water bottle. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.